Should we have a thing for another beer, or is it just like...
You got one?
When you're ready.
No, I know now, but I'm saying like during the podcast.
All right, so which one of you jokers actually came up with the idea of Yinzer Crazy?
Well, it was a funny story. So we went back and forth, okay? And our friend, his roommate, Matt Aaron... Go ahead. Do you want to explain it?
We'll give credit to my buddy Matt. Why not? It really
share the love.
It really
Thank you, Matt Aaron. See, we're people persons, so we got to give.
We're people. Yeah. That's what we are.
I love Matt too.
We're people.
Yes, he's a man behind the scenes in Pittsburgh sports. We're not gonna. He's incognito. We're not gonna give him up. But Matt Aaron, and
you
there's
just said his name.
Well, no, they can know the name, but they don't.
He's now famous.
Yes.
You know, he's eating that mic already. Yeah.
Jordan, you are swallowing that microphone. The next guest that comes in here is going to need to just be
pull that mic back
sprayed with sanitizer. You have to move back a little bit. You're going to spray
You don't have to
him
move
with
back. You can move the
sanitizer.
mic back a little bit.
No, listen. So it's really not that great of a story. You oversold the story a little bit.
I was just trying to start off the show with
He's in the promotion. I mean, come on. Of course he oversold. What's wrong with that? Of course he oversold the story.
That's a good point. This is the best story you'll ever hear in your life.
No, we have
there's not a better story. No, we were just literally sitting there one day, Jordan and I, shooting the shit, right, a little bit. I think we went for a jog that morning or something to
on Mount Washington. Before my shin splints came.
So we were exhausted naturally.
Pre-shin splints.
And we came back and we were like shooting around ideas, trying to think of some puns or anything Pittsburgh related. What can we name our show? And it kind of turned out to, it manifested where my roommate was just like, Yinzer Crazy.
Yeah, we had an idea of like what it was going to be, but like what was something like Yinzer Crazy. Like we didn't want it to just be like Steelers podcast, Pirates podcast. We wanted to, because we do talk about, we just have fun with it. Like just like, with your show. And that's what it's all about. It's lighthearted. And, we talked back. I mean, we always like talk sports. Like we have group chats with our friends and all we do is just send like random sports stats. Like, did you hear this? Did you see? Like, yes, I heard it. I get the ESPN app, but I'm going to send it to you anyways. Like when Matt, I know you guys seen it when but anyways, it's awesome because I think I said this on the podcast last time is I've experienced so much in my life, and the core group of friends like Michael is like, I look up to him. Like I know he knows that, and I know he won't accept it because he's a humble guy.
I'm over
but
here
like,
crying.
Yes, he's crying.
I can see the tears.
They can, and I was so fortunate with. Like literally the group of people that were in my wedding party are literally people that I've known I've known them my whole, like I've literally known Mike my whole life. So like for me to like have any sort of like like hell yeah, like I'm in this, like whatever, like I don't care whatever happens. But then the first week like I just reached out to Jason Kendall on Twitter and I was like, hey, we have this thing. I'm talking to him on the phone. We're interviewing him. I have a relationship with the Fort, and we kind of just started it off and kicked it off. I mean, it was just like we started it and did like an episode in what was that, like a year ago, I think.
Yeah, it was more or less just a test run to kind of see what we could put together, and then life kind of happened. You were getting married. Yeah, had a lot of trips coming up.
Just
a tiny little blip.
I mean,
he
was literally out of the country for like 2 months.
I was little thing. I was like, Jordan, put off the wedding for a little bit. We got a couple podcasts to film
come
here.
On.
Like
Jason Kendall and the Fort are calling in.
Well, I think the name is good because Yinzer Crazy.
If you can't tell, we are literally. If you can't tell by now,
crazy. A good crazy, very good.
It's a good crazy. Yeah, and so yes, it's not just all of your listeners or our listeners out there who are crazy. It is us literally as well.
As a whole, like I just told you, we're all family. Pittsburgh.
But you guys go all the way back. There's a story about you guys like drinking beer and playing video games when you were like 2.5.
New Ken, man, it's we come from a small town, New Kensington, PA. And what's crazy about it is like, New Ken has its ups and downs, but there is a lot of good people from that area.
Right.
Like, I literally like text and talk to his dad and mom, and he every time like he sees my family, it's like
we were probably doing this same thing 20 years in rewind, minus the Michelob Ultras, because at 9 years old, Eric,
it was like
I don't think that would have
Capri
been
Suns and stuff.
Yeah, with Capri Suns
and Blue Ribbon or something,
and maybe a PBR, right? Just a cheaper, shittier beer.
Nothing has changed, and like I said, like you said, you feel you're as old as you feel, and
Absolutely.
I just feel like. Now, like, we're both at good points in life. We both work to, become what we've became so far, and I think what's awesome about it is we're just able to express ourselves and our knowledge. Like, you know,
he hasn't slept in a month.
Yeah.
If you
I
can't.
don't know.
No, I sleep.
He goes through all 24 hours and then is ready for the next 24 hours without sleep.
But no, I can't say enough about Mike, man, and like. I do my music thing, the acting, everything that I do, but like he is the most sports knowledgeable person, and I feel like I wouldn't want anyone else on the show because I wouldn't feel comfortable. I'm comfortable, but I'm saying like I can be myself, and like we know we complement each other very nicely.
So Eric, it's not always been roses and butterflies, though.
No.
We were talking a little bit off air about how Jordan and I in high school prearranged to fight each other in our high school parking lot.
Oh, this is gonna be good.
Yeah.
And I think so the backstory was
our friend Jimmy.
Our friend.
There's always a friend
who's
Jimmy
still
involved
a
in
good
shit,
friend.
right?
Yes.
There's always one.
But it came down to girls ultimately. we were fighting over a girl or something at the time, and we for a very brief it was very brief where we were like, I'm not going to be your friend because you like the same girl that I like, and I don't want to talk to you anymore. And it probably lasted the better part of 48 hours. But in those 48 hours, we were somehow convinced to potentially meet in our high school parking lot of Valley High School to fight, to literally
we both didn't want to fight each other. It was all of our friends that wanted us to fight.
We've never been in a fight in our lives.
No.
Have you still been in a fight to this day? You're 29, I'm 29. We've
Maybe
never been
my
in a fight.
cousin, Mr. David.
Maybe
we put on the boxing gloves.
We've had fake fights and things of that nature. And I think when we saw each other, we ultimately just hugged and had a realization of what are we doing?
I might have shed a tear.
Yeah, and since then it's been smooth sailing until right now. I think you want to go out back.
Yeah, we can't after this. We'll get
There's
that.
an empty room over here. You guys want to go at it.
We can wrestle.
Yeah.
Too much nice memorabilia in here to break.
Yeah, but no, it's actually is this? I wanted this. Is this new since the last?
The center of the table is actually brand new.
Yeah,
that's
really. What is that like? Rustic.
You were guest like number 6 or 7 on the show originally. Just a piece of wood. We got a bunch of lights. We got a Salvador Dali sculpture in the middle. We got some soundproofing. Just something to widen the table up a little bit. A little better optics on the video end. You know,
feels like a kick-ass Pinterest product.
Yes,
seriously.
And this entire room and the compliments continue, and I'm very humbled by it. But it all just came out of nowhere.
Well, this is all your. You know what I mean? This is like.
It's like a man cave, right?
Exactly. Like this.
What did you say you were missing?
Man cave.
So listen, I said the first thing, and I said, well, this is better than a man cave. Honestly, I said you need a 70-inch so you can watch all 80. The sports. 80 A's baseball. What do you think?
Absolutely.
A's baseball.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is. That's what I said. I told my wife. I said all I want. And I said, all I want in life is a man cave, maybe like a popcorn machine or something.
It's nicer than the Coliseum in here.
Yes,
but it's not saying a ton.
I'm thinking the 5 and Dime store down the street is probably nicer than the Coliseum too. So, Michael, you have a history, some experience, background working in broadcasting, correct?
Yeah, you got it, man. So I went to IUP, and I'm very proud of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was there.
A lot of partying going on at that school.
Not as much, Eric. Really, not as much.
I don't know. I've always heard
that.
The
guy. You want to know a fun fact? Isn't it the guy who created YouTube went to IUP?
You nailed that. His name's Chad Hurley. That's
Thanks,
a little
Chad.
shout out to Chad Hurley. I don't know if you knew that, but the YouTube president CEO currently.
People don't even know that. That's what's crazy. I just knew that because he went there, and I'm weird and like look up.
So Google must have given him a nice check.
Yeah. So actually, he was the founder, and he sold it. I want to say,
God bless
10 years
him.
ago he got out. I mean, it was like 2 or 3 years after its inception.
Wow.
But he was out. But yeah, for sure. So so he's the second most famous graduate from IUP,
and this is the first.
Is Chad Hurley.
He was actually. Weren't you on the news? You were on. He was on KDKA.
Come on, man. I'm getting there.
Okay.
You're stealing his thunder over there.
No, I'm preluding that. I'm gonna.
Yeah, but you missed the actual cool stuff.
Yes, I did. Go ahead.
No,
sorry. I'm just excited because I like when he comes out of his show. I've done enough. Like I love this dude.
And I'm excited to have you guys here. Believe me.
So it was my job to come out of my shell for the better part of 4 years in Indiana because I was working as the play-by-play broadcaster for their football, basketball teams.
Okay.
And I did have a moment where I laugh about it now with my friends, where I literally peaked at the age of 20, which was I was on ESPN. I had a top 10 ESPN call of an IUP basketball game that was heard around the world, if you will.
How about that?
So like I said, the joke that my friends and I make is I literally
we have to get that
20.
audio clip.
The audio clip's on YouTube, man. It's got like 20,000 views.
Okay.
Another
we're
YouTube
gonna
shout
get
out
that.
for Chad and
We're
IUP.
literally going to do an IUP special of the
We're gonna do an IUP
podcast. We're going to
special.
invite Susie
3
Till.
people
Everyone's
listen. My
going to love
mom and
it.
a couple, maybe Chad.
That's
Hurley.
fine. That's fine.
But that's okay.
We can reach out to Chad Hurley and be like, hey.
He won't respond, but that's totally cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, those are 4 of the best years of my life, no question about it. Some great experience there. And that call, like I said, I get jagged a lot about peaking at 20, which is very true. But after that, I worked at Root Sports, now AT&T Sports, for a little over a year.
Yeah.
I do some broadcasting with Pitt now. I call women's basketball games, soccer games for the ACC Network and ESPN Extra.
Aren't they having a
things of that
good
nature?
year?
Volleyball is kicking ass.
Volleyball is number 3 in the country.
Pitt football has turned the corner a little bit too. They're pretty good right now.
Surprising year so far.
Yeah, man. So you know what? I was definitely fortunate to go to a school that allowed me to do that, because some of these bigger schools, Pitt, Penn State, they have professionals doing all of that, right? You got Bill Hillgrove calling Pitt football games,
Bill.
Penn State games, right? Somebody who's been doing it for 30 years. The only good thing about going to an IUP at that time, I suppose, was the ability to jump right in and take full control of all that stuff. So that was pretty badass.
Do you still talk to Darryl Webb?
I don't talk to Darryl Webb. He was the one who actually made the dunk that got me on Sports Center. But I like to say it was my call.
I wish we had that audio clip. It was great. It was like climb up.
Pull it up on your phone.
I
play it right through the mic.
Yes.
I could do it. All right.
What was it? What was the ESPN call? It was climb up the web or spout or something.
You're gonna hear it in a few minutes.
Okay.
Just
put that on the air. What are some of the broadcasters over the past 30, 40 years in Pittsburgh that you guys really admire? Because I admire a lot of them.
I think I've been able to meet Bill Hillgrove, and when I go to the Pitt games, I always see him, and definitely him, because I feel like once Myron Cope passed away, he kind of took over that, and Myron Cope is one of a kind. He was literally like more famous than the Steelers football team. I mean, his name's still on the terrible
in the 80s,
towel.
he pretty much was.
Yeah, like I would literally I remember I would turn down.
I do a decent Cope.
You do. I would turn down my TV and turn up my radio to listen, because he was more exciting to listen to.
There's no question.
And I'm still a radio guy. Like, I'm in the shower, I have on the fan, and I listen to everything. And but yeah,
you don't bring the radio into the shower.
No, but they do have radios that you can bring into the shower now.
Just be careful. Anything tragic happening.
they do, but
radio and shower.
Yeah,
doesn't
I would say for
electricity.
me, obviously Dick Groat. He just retired just because he was just such an iconic. Like, people don't know about him. I mean, he played for Duke, and he just played like
arguably one of the best athletes of all time.
There's no question.
No question.
Of all
and
time.
So yeah, I mean, that's pretty awesome. I know Mike. Just he's been in the sports business longer than I have. So I mean, I'm sure you can name some.
I thought you were going to say me.
Huh?
No, I'm kidding. I'm a big Pirates
yeah.
guy, so I mean, I've I'm not old enough to kind of remember the gunner and guys of that nature, but
he was awesome.
Lanny Fratteri and
Lanny.
Greg Brown and individual. I grew up on Greg Brown, really.
Yeah.
Honestly, just listening to him. Jordan mentioned some great ones. Dick Groat, Billy Hillgrove, Mike Lang. I mean, come on, you can't miss out on Mike Lang. They just honored him this past week at the Consol Energy Center. You talk about an iconic figure, a guy who created so many catchphrases, a guy that I've idolized.
It's crazy that like the announcers are literally just as is that just the Pitts or the A's?
Everywhere.
Like, is that everywhere?
It speaks
I
to
know, like
their
the Red Wings have a good.
I don't believe it's unique to Pittsburgh, but I will say Pittsburgh's one of those cities that has a large collection of them.
We've been fortunate
with
with some really good ones. There's no question about it. And
There's no question.
It speaks to that when they hold that position for 30, 40 years, like Mike Lang. I think he's been doing it for 50 years. Myron Cope did it for 40 years, right?
Yeah, I miss
You have
Myron,
guys in other cities and locations who are maybe doing it 5, 10 years and being pushed out. So these guys are awesome.
I'm a tad older than you gentlemen, so I got a couple decades on you. But I remember when Blass and Walk both started. Blass a little earlier, I believe, for it used to be called KBL Sports back then.
Nice.
I do, yeah. I've seen some stuff like.
I remember being an avid Pirate fan as well. Like I still am.
You're a realistic Pirate fan.
I'm a realistic Pirate fan, yes. But I was a little overly critical to both of those gentlemen when they started because they were, baseball players coming in to be broadcasters, and they were locals, and
yeah,
and they worked. But to see how they've created their own personas. To listen to Bob Walk the last couple of years compared to earlier on, night and day. He's really exceptional, and Blass as well. We're gonna miss Blass.
No question, man.
He was one of a kind too, and he was a great player. So it's like when you're like a great player and a great announcer, it's like you're gonna be remember. They'll honor him until eternity.
Yeah,
I think it's awesome.
There's a lot of characters to it. I mean, we were talking off here about Mark Madden. Love him or hate him, he's created a persona for himself in this town. It's polarizing at times, but it works for him. Look at the ratings don't lie.
His ratings are the best.
The ratings don't lie, and of course he bridged the wrestling thing into mainstream sports, I guess, to some degree.
Exactly. He's always been a part of it, right? In some form or fashion. And, back when he was on the CW or whatever it was prior to that, throwing down in the gauntlet, getting chairs slammed off of his back and whatnot, and now to parlay that into his success now. You can't knock the guy for that.
No, and then it's even the sports writers in this town, we got a rich history of sports writers, going back to Bob Smizek, Ed Vuchette for the Steelers. I'm a big fan of Ron Cook. I think Ron
Cook a lot.
And I think there's Ron Cook the writer and Ron Cook the
host.
Host. And it took me a while to warm up to Ron on radio, but I am now. Now
he tells the story every time.
He's like my favorite. He's like my favorite.
All them guys are, man. Everyone, everyone has their, the people that they like and the people that they. But honestly, it's a great town to write and talk about sports.
Here's my favorite thing about Ron Cook is that. You might not say this about Mark Madden all the time. Ron Cook is 100% authentic at all times.
Yeah.
He will go on air, and if he's not feeling it that day, he'll tell you. He's like,
That's what you need.
Stepped in a damn puddle on my way in. I feel like shit.
Yeah, but I'm here because I have to be here.
And I'm here because I have to be here. That is authenticity that you're not going to find anywhere. I appreciate his realness. Sometimes it comes off to others as they're like he's grumpy, right, or grouchy.
Well,
or
he's
something.
older. He's from my generation.
But he's
maybe a little older.
Real. So I give him a lot of credit for that.
So I think if you really think about it, Pittsburgh's a Steeler town, right, first and foremost. But there's a heck of a lot of your generation, it really embraces the fans. So the listenership has a good collection. I don't have the demographics in front of you. But,
the Chargers game was a perfect example of that. That was insane.
Exactly. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
But Ron's able to actually reach younger demographics as well as older, which I don't think initially he was when he first went on, but I think his reach has broadened, which is to credit to him.
It says a lot. When he first went on, they had a great young old mix. He was with Filipponi, who gets a lot of shit and a lot of heat around here in the Berg too, because
Andrew.
Yeah, he's not one to hide his
he does not.
He's not one to hide his fandom for Syracuse and New York teams at times, but he's also very brash, right? And opinionated certainly. But they were a good tandem because they worked well off each other. They complemented each other well. Kind of what Jordan and I are trying to find in our podcast as well. But they were somebody that I really looked up to. Now he's with Joe Starkey, who I also really like.
Yeah,
I think he's
hilarious.
Awesome,
they flipped them. The two teams, they flipped them.
So Pony is now with Chris Muller, who's always I thought is a really talented guy as well. Ron Cook is now with Joe Starkey. In the afternoon shift before those guys go on. But I think Jordan and I both really enjoy listening to both of those, regardless of the dynamic.
Yeah. Paul Zeiss,
they have a lot of good stuff.
Paul Zeiss,
dude, he's the best.
He's probably up there amongst my favorites now. He's insane.
He tells it how it is too.
Talk about authentic. That's authentic.
Yeah,
right there.
Exactly. And
you don't care.
We're a blessed sports town, and I tell we were talking about this the other day. It's like we're so spoiled here. I mean, rather than the Pirates, and we did have that little run when we played the Reds and stuff, but we're blessed.
There we go.
There it is. We have Mike Nicastro.
Set this up for us here
on national television. ESPN,
give us
Daryl
the year.
Webb. Give us the. We need the
game.
So you got February 11th, 2009. We were working on over 10
another beer.
10 years.
I need another beer. Wait. Let me crack open my beer before this. This is like
you need a beer. I need to get 6 shots of tequila back there before I listen to this.
No hard liquor, man.
That's what I mean. This is the
kidding.
people. This guy had called a top 10 play on ESPN and like.
I don't talk about it much, so you got it.
He's very humble.
You got to hold that right up to the mic,
ready?
buddy.
So here you go.
Here we go. Set it up again.
This is an IUP basketball.
This is an exclusive
top 10
too.
Play. Daryl Webb is the IUP basketball player. I coined him the Spider-Man, was the nickname I gave him in college broadcasting.
That's awesome.
Okay. This is ESPN's top 10 plays.
What was the year?
February 11th, 2009.
Wow.
That was a day after my birthday.
Oh, we got Avalanche and Thrashers first. Hold on, I kind of botched that.
You know it was the Thrashers.
There you go.
Okay.
All by himself in scores.
Not me, but I'm coming.
Did you know ESPN was there?
3, 2, 1, here it is.
Marguerite Dude, Indiana University of Pennsylvania. Courtney, turn it up. Man, as the Spider-Man, Daryl Webb climbs up the water spout.
So that was my call.
What was
Daryl Webb, the Spider-Man climbing up the water spout
Can I ask
on
you
a call.
what
it was, and it went viral, if you will.
Yes. What was? What am I gonna ask?
Was I drinking that day?
Well,
Probably.
yes, but we knew that.
It was
but
college, pal.
What was? Did you know did you just see it on ESPN, or did they tell you ESPN was in the building? Did you send it in? How did that?
Do you know the answer to this? Is that why you're setting me up? Because it's kind of a story in itself.
Go ahead.
Well, that's what that's what.
And this is the truth. This is the God honest truth. I was sitting on my couch that night, and obviously I'll never forget it because once again, it's the coolest thing that's going to happen to me. Sorry, future wife.
Not yet.
And future kids. Whenever
You never know.
whenever they do decide.
He can die happy. I called a top 10 play on ESPN. That's bucket list stuff.
I was
That's good
sitting
stuff.
there with
That's bucket list stuff.
a friend who was a female I was talking to at the time.
All right.
And we're casually watching it, and I had no idea that it was coming on. This is the truth, no clue. And it aired, and I'm obviously kind of shell shocked, speechless, and I kind of
just on national television.
Yeah, I'm like, this is really cool. Is this real? Am I dreaming or drunk?
Or both.
And or both. And so I look at her, and I kind of freak out a little bit, right? I'm like, did you see this? This was incredible. It's ESPN. Can you believe what happened? And I explained to her what happened, and she looks at me kind of, and she's just like, you got any more beer or something like that? She's like, that's not that cool.
That's to say he's not with her anymore.
Yeah, suffice to say, I didn't talk to her ever again after that.
If
night.
I would have been there, I would have gave you a hug and maybe a kiss.
So yeah, that was whoa. Come on,
married,
man. He's a married man. Like I said, Alyssa, don't forget. No, it was
Yinzer Crazy.
Yes.
It was crazy. That is the
awesome.
word of the night. It was crazy. But yeah, enough about it.
I love the call.
It was cool.
I think it was awesome.
It propelled me into a career of podcasts with my buddy Jordan.
That's
drinking
right.
Michelob.
Here we are.
That's why we're here. So
all downhill from here.
So, let's hope not.
Nah.
Talk a little bit about this new media, which is what this show finds itself in, and started probably Joe Rogan being the biggest of all of them right now. Podcasting.
Yeah, I just actually,
the
our
Wild
friend
West, right?
Jimmy just sent us something from Joe Rogan today. It was because he knows I'm a runner or whatever, and it was the guy ran 240 miles and
David
got sick.
Goggins.
Yes. And I was like, man, I said, I hope my shin splints heal because I'm trying to be out there. He runs,
Right.
you ran the Yinzer 5K. It's funny, I'll just go to random 5Ks in the city and his dad will just be there.
I just noticed that.
I'm like, oh, this is awesome.
Did you just burp in the mic?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the beer.
Because he's eating it.
Well, that's, he's your guy over there.
Hey, man.
Just, what am I going to say?
No, dude. So you did an excellent job of not answering that question, but I love it.
Do you like it?
You didn't answer it for a second. I'll take it. I'm happy to take it.
Good.
So this is the.
Are you guys going to drink on your podcast?
Heck yeah.
All
I mean,
right.
if you've listened to it already,
Yeah, well,
Listen,
I wasn't
when we
sure
go-
because you
when
didn't
we-
really say you were doing that.
When we
Eric,
go
all
to
I'm-
Cleveland, we're gonna run into this. I'm
All
telling
I'm saying
you,
is when you
gonna
listen
be-
to it, you're going to be like, these guys have been drinking.
You're just not going to announce that you are.
And listen, we
Right.
love the Eric
That's what
McKenna
I'm
project, and make sure you visit ericmckenna.com.
Nice.
We sponsor ourselves, so visit ericmckenna.com. I'm Jordan. This is Mike. There's beer. There's good vibes, and that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
Another Pirates World Series. We'll wait.
Let me tell you a little bit about
We'll die in this room first before that happens.
another. It's been 40 years.
We'll come back. We'll all be.
You
we'll
see
be
that light
65.
split over there? Look. City of Champions. That's 79.
That. Oh man, I wish nothing more than a Pirates World Series, but it's just so hard. It's just like being a fan is like.
So let's talk about them for a while.
Let's go back to podcasts.
Because that's what our podcast was. It was crazy because the Pirates season just then, they don't have a manager. They, fire Clint Hurdle, and we just reached out to Jason Kendall. We know the Ford. He's an awesome person. Right. And our first 2 episodes, we did talk about, the Steelers and Pitt, but it was basically about what are the Pirates going to do? What are the Pirates going to do?
They're going to continue to be on our podcast, hopefully.
Yeah.
That's their number one goal at this point in the offseason, is just to join you and I and Eric, of course, in here in studio as well, which we're gonna set up.
Josh Bell, if you're watching, go ahead.
But listen, the reason that we want to talk Pirates and do a podcast is because this is, like you said, kind of the new wave of millennial media, right? Like this is
a millennial media.
I think so, man. It's
cool.
It's very light. For one, I think and you hate to continue to harp on what's the old cliche with everything going on in the world today, right? You get something lighthearted.
Now, is it lighthearted or is it just like, because I don't find a lot of Rogan shows very lighthearted.
That's a good,
but it is a diversion from the bullshit of life.
It's a diversion from the bullshit of life.
Right.
It's relatively convenient. It's right on your phone.
Yes.
You got your
and
headphone jack in.
He comes over and he's like, "Are you hungry?" I make a chicken wrap. He comes over. Jason Kendall calls us, and we do it. And in my sports room,
he sounds like he's kidding. It's literally what happens.
It's literally what happens. You need a water? Okay, here. You want to go out for lunch? Yeah, sure.
So it's extremely laid back.
It is, and I just at this point in my life, I just feel like this is what honestly keeps me sane, because like I'm just like, I go everywhere. I'm bouncing around doing all this, and I just feel like this is like
that's the reason why podcasts work.
Yes,
they work because there's not a set time. You don't have to say I'm sitting down at 7:30 to listen to this podcast, right? You can wake up at 5:30 a.m. and catch your flight and listen to a podcast.
Well, this show's here the same way. We broadcast live. We're live here, but we're not broadcasting to the listeners live. It's recorded live.
You drive home from work at 2:30, you can listen to the podcast.
Right.
You sit there you sit on the toilet, you can listen to the podcast.
You can come back and listen.
Set time, place. You have to be. Podcasts are very convenient. They're efficient. They are the wave of the future, man.
The alternative media. Because again, will we take a sponsor at some point? I'm sure if we continue to grow, we will. But I'll never be beholden. I've shared this with you last time.
It's your
never
podcast.
Be beholden to any organization. I want people to come in here and speak freely. I don't want to be censored.
That too.
I don't want
the lack of censorship.
And our biggest thing is we just want to reach other Yinzers. Like it's look, I'm getting yelled at again. I'm used to performing, and I'm like up on stage, and I'm like doing this.
What? I forgot about that. He's used to holding the mic and performing
They
to the
give
mic.
me the mic, and they don't tell me anything else.
I'm guessing most of the mics that he's using aren't quite the quality of that one.
No. I hope it still works.
Is that good? Am I good?
I just screamed in it,
Do I need to back up?
You're good, man. You're good.
No, I mean, what we want to really bring with this show is just like, trending topics, just what people want to hear. I mean, we were fortunate enough to, get 2 cool guests on to start off, and we just want to keep building, just with my connections, his connections, everyone working together. I mean, I really think that, we can put out some interesting stuff sports-wise and just really just have fun with it. Like,
kind
that's
of expand the conversation, right?
Exactly.
Because I think, before podcasts, and I know this way it was when I was growing up, I tell my son's 18, so I always share this with him. He's probably tired of hearing the story.
He's an A's fan?
Yeah, he is. He had no choice. But we used to cram for the Pittsburgh Press in the afternoon and the Post-Gazette in the morning. And then we would read the current, current sports writers. There was like 3 in Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
sure. Between the two
Smizik, you mentioned one. Yeah.
Exactly right. And Bichette, I think, probably in my childhood too.
Another IUP guy. Sorry, I had
to
jump in.
Is he?
But the funny part about that was the reality.
I didn't know that.
The reality was, so we're getting 3 people's, and you want to say it wasn't always editorial, but you're getting 3 people's opinion of what the hell happened the night before. It was so dated. And I used to get the sporting news. I get that once a week, and I'd read that about things that happened 3 weeks ago in baseball, right? Yeah. I mean, everything was so antiquated and dated. Now, it's MLB.com or MLB TV on my iPhone. I know games as they're going. Everything's in our face all the time. So now I think it's the opposite way. Now I think there's sometimes too many voices, that don't make any sense, or maybe not don't make any sense, but we get little bits of information.
Sometimes we don't have time to process it, right?
Exactly. And so this gives the opportunity to sit down and relax over a period of time, commercial free generally, to extrapolate on sports.
That's a big thing too, because I listen to a lot of radio, and that's what I was talking to him about on the way here. It's like I want to hear these guys talking,
it's
and
torturous.
they're like, Lebanon Church on Pittsburgh, and I'm like,
don't give out any free promo time.
Yeah. But you know that one.
Well, 93.7 The Fan, I'll say it right now. The amount of commercials is absolutely insane.
It's a lot.
Yeah, and I love like listening to other people's
Sure.
Because like I'll go to like I'll be driving and I'll hear someone and then I'll say, "Oh, did you hear this?" Like, yeah. Like it's cool just to keep up to date with.
I think it's definitely important to hear, multiple perspectives. Different individuals with different backgrounds, viewpoints on different things, right? Mm-hmm. But I certainly agree with your point where at this point it's becoming dangerous because there's so much information so quickly at our fingertips. The way Twitter is kind of exploded, right? And,
what's fact and what's opinion?
What is fact and what's opinion? You're right. You don't have time to discern. You don't have time to differentiate it. And I think that's something that can be a challenge because you play the telephone game, right? And then you hear something that might not be true, and you spread it to somebody else, and they're spreading it to somebody else. And before you know it, you're like, Jordan York's performing at the Apollo tomorrow, and it's like,
I actually did perform at the Apollo before, and it was a tryout.
I was going to say, you're performing at the MGM Grand in Vegas, and instead,
and Ron Artest and Lamar Odom are coming.
And Lamar Odom will be there.
Yes,
and that's
it's.
And then that gets transferred on, and they're like, "Did you hear Jordan York's performing in Hawaii?" And before you know it, it's just all over the place.
Yes. I don't think you ever stop that. I guess the great thing about podcasting to me is it's on demand. Exactly. You can listen to it when you want.
Yeah.
Generally, it's generally commercial free. And if there are commercials, usually it's a one quick read, and that goes for an hour.
Sure.
So. Let me ask you this. Let's talk about your subject matter. Obviously, I think you've chosen the best town in the world, to do a podcast about sports. And Pittsburgh is just a unique sports town.
Yes.
And I know we're parochial, but you can, how do I say it? You probably can take one fact that Paul Alexander mentioned on this podcast months ago.
Paul's a man.
Another great Pittsburgh sports broadcasting icon, in my opinion.
And a great guy.
No doubt. He mentioned that no matter where you travel in this country, you will find Pittsburgh Steeler bars.
Oh, yeah. There's a list. There's a list.
Like
you can literally, in Italy, all those places.
You nailed it.
Yeah, I guess it's worldwide.
Yes.
Like no other team. And the Steelers just played out in a middle school field.
Oh, yeah.
They played at
20,000 Steeler fans.
They played where Jordan and I went to fight, Valley High School parking lot.
Yes.
But there were more Steelers fans at that Charger game than there were Charger fans.
I looked and I was like, nah, I said there has to be. But I guess they're really mad about leaving San Diego. I don't know.
I think the tickets were like the cheapest ticket was like $247.
Well, you figure, I mean, you basically there, you can basically touch the players. You put your hand out. I mean, it's
a soccer field, right?
Yeah,
it is a soccer field.
I thought someone plays there at
Galaxy,
college.
The LA Galaxy.
Is that who it is?
LA. They're in LA, yeah.
Okay.
Because they moved. So my dad and I took in an experience last year that was unlike any other,
Tampa
which is similar. Yeah, we went to Tampa. We went to Monday Night Football Steelers at Bucs game, and that was another one that turned into 70% Steeler fans. Like before you knew it, it was consumed by Terrible Towels. Just absolutely incredible atmosphere. I felt like I was in Pittsburgh on the freaking beach, dude. Like it's what an
With
unbelievable
a big Buccaneer
atmosphere. I don't know what the how it came to that. I think the fan base, for one, moving to different places, California and Florida, you get a lot of older fans who retired and are living in those places. But you can go to the middle of Wichita, Kansas. Not that the Steelers would play there, and I feel like there'd be 100,000 Steeler fans waving towels. It's crazy. You're crazy. Still crazy.
I'm crazy.
It is crazy.
We're crazy.
Do you think? Let me put it this way. You mentioned we're spoiled in this town.
Go ahead, ask us some hot topics. This is Yinzer Crazy. We're sitting here with Eric McKenna. This is Mike Nicastro. I'm Jordan York. You can categorize me in a lot of things, but this is my best friend, Mike. And we're on the Eric.
Let's get him another round, Eric.
Eric, another one. Yeah,
you ready for another one?
Yeah, I'm ready for another one.
It's like turning into Stern over here.
So.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the midget to come.
You say
you're driving. You're driving home. No, I'm kidding.
Why are we spoiled in this town?
I'll go and then you can go. I think that we're spoiled in this town.
That's fine.
Because of the rich tradition. When you're a Pittsburgh athlete, I feel like you're automatically a celebrity because Pittsburgh thinks of you play a professional sport, you're a big deal, which it is. But you go to other places and I feel like it's just not. I've been other places and I just feel like they're not like as, I don't know the word that I'm looking for, but it's just really crazy to be in Pittsburgh. It's Yinzer Crazy. Like, people literally live and breathe and make their work schedules and everything around when the Steelers are playing. Oh, it's Friday, we have to tailgate for the Pirates. Pitt's playing, we have to tailgate on Saturday. We have the Penguins. Like, I mean, the Penguins are amazing. If anything, the Penguins over the past, 5 to 7 more, 5 to 10 years have been... I mean, there's hockey teams that don't even go to the playoffs. The Penguins have pretty much been in the playoffs.
But we're spoiled, though.
Yes.
We're spoiled. Yeah, we're extremely spoiled.
And now to Mike Nicastro.
Thank you.
ESPN's finest. Top 10.
I'm going to hire him just to, like, walk around with me all day.
I think I might hire
know
him
what
to
I
all
mean?
my promos.
I'd be a good hype man.
Just like if I'm trying to meet a chick and like, right behind me, here's
hey,
Mike.
this is Mike
Here's
Nicastro.
Mike.
You know, he was
Let
on
him
top
do
10.
your smooth talking
I'm
for
telling
you.
you talk about an
he
incredible
played
wingman.
football?
Yeah.
That's what I'm here for. I'm married. I'm the wingman now.
Yes, you are.
Yes.
Well, I'm obviously spoiled to have such a good friend as Jordan, but we're spoiled as a town as well, man. And, you know, he said a lot of it. The winning, of course. A lot of towns experience that. Cleveland, for one, obviously. I mean, outside of,
and
you
keep
know,
losing,
the
Baker.
Indians were just
keep
in the World Series. But
losing.
yeah, you said it, man. A team with a lot of hype.
Even though we're going to be there, but we're supporting the basketball team since we don't have one. Even though
LeBron
I'm
got
a
him one a
Bulls
handful
fan.
of years
have-
ago,
Yes.
but before that, it was
we'll
a long
talk
time.
about the hat. Go ahead.
Listen, I live in Mount Washington. I just moved there about a year and a half ago.
Beautiful view.
You want to talk about the most Yinzer crazy, and I know that's the apropos word we're using tonight, the craziest part of Pittsburgh I have ever lived in my entire life. If you don't walk by somebody who has a Steeler tattoo and an insane Yinzer accent, you're in the wrong area. You've probably traveled down to the South Side, or you've walked to the North Shore, or something
That's
of that
true.
regard. Like, this place is amazing. The dialect is, you know, you hit a home run in the streets of Pittsburgh. Dude, it is.
You sound like Lanny Fertera.
I don't know if part of our love for and passion for the game is, I don't want to diminish the city whatsoever, but
I think it was really how we were raised.
we don't have beaches. We don't have, you know, we're not San Diego or LA or Tampa or these cities
Oakland.
that have a lot of shit to do, right? A lot of cool shit. For us, I can't wait for Sunday in Pittsburgh because I think the Steelers might be playing, and I want to go drink some beers and eat some ham barbecue.
Like, we make our schedule around like when football and baseball. Like, I think that's just. I think that other people like that, but I just feel like our group of friends that we have literally like live and die by sports. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like I'm the biggest fan of sports, and he'll vouch for me.
Yep.
It's is he? Sorry.
The beer, huh?
Yes, that happened before too.
It does.
Wow.
I mean, I just genuinely, I think it's, you know, rest in peace to my pap. He took me to so many sporting events that, like, I just feel like that's like my best memory. And I feel like one day when I have kids, like just like you took your son to athletic, and it's just like amazing to just. What would you say? Like, it's amazing to be in the atmosphere of a live sporting event because I see two teams being competitive and just the atmosphere of the fans, the chants, the traditions. I think that's awesome. And like everyone, I love music. I'm a musician, and I love performing. But like, I just feel like a part of something being in a sports arena.
You nailed it there. It's community.
Like,
you absolutely said it with that last sentence.
It's Pittsburgh. Like,
we create a community. We lift each other up through sports. We build each other up through sports. We're building our neighbors.
I mean, they're connected with the hospitals. They're connected with the community. They're connected with everything.
You walk down the street in Mount Washington, and I might not know a single soul, but the guy will look at me and say, "Did you see Duck threw 2 touchdowns the other night or something like that?" And I'm like,
awesome.
Hell yeah, brother, and give him a high five.
He's an awesome guy.
And before you know it, he's inviting me over for, I don't know, pork chops on the grill.
Are the Steelers
Mrs. T's pierogies?
Are the Steelers, and to a lesser extent the Penguins, most recently, are they Pittsburgh's identity?
It's deep. That's really deep.
Football has a big audience.
Are they a big part of their identity?
Just as a city in general?
Yes.
Of course. Absolutely.
From the 70s,
I think
the most part.
If you go somewhere, you know, any other domestic city, if you will, big city, and you mention Pittsburgh, the first thing I think they would say to you is, Steelers, right? 6 Super Bowls, or I don't think it would be like
I traveled a good part of my younger life. Is exactly true.
It's what they say. They're not going to be like, you got that cool ice rink at PPG.
I try to like understand it because like I see all these groups, like Steeler groups from New Mexico, like Steeler groups from like Canada, Steeler groups from Santa Clara, and I'm just like, wow. Like I was like, in Dallas coins itself as America's team, but like I mean, I don't see Dallas fans like I don't know. Cowboy fans.
Well, I can tell you that's a very good point. I tried a couple of years ago on Facebook to find out how many A's fans were in Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
that would actually want to do anything, go to a game, whatever.
I like the A's.
There was like 8.
Dude, I got to hook you up.
There was 8.
So the one that I know was, and I was just...
See? There isn't any.
I told you.
Is my invisible friend. No, I'm kidding. No, is the guy I started taking guitar lessons from.
Get out.
In Pittsburgh.
He's an A's fan.
He would wear an A's hat every day, and he wasn't this super savvy sports guy or anything.
Right.
But he loved having me in because he was able to share his passion, which is guitar and music and things of that nature.
Right.
And he would sit there and he would be like, dude, Matt Chapman, like... He'd be like 0 for 4 Sunday, and I'd be like, yeah, you know what, man? His, he's a little late on that fastball, but he was facing Garrett Cole.
Eric, I know you're loving it. He loves A's
and he would look at me and be he'd look at me and be like, yeah, man, but that riff you did on that Chili Pepper song was a little off, and so that was one of the coolest things I've experienced.
He's gonna watch us
year.
and love that.
Well, so I'll connect you with.
That's very cool.
You guys have to connect.
So for me, what was amazing, which is very identifiable to Steelers, whereas. We were, my son and I were there for the game. It's this playoff game, and of course, it didn't turn out that great. But the one thing I wanted to hear, all these years, I wanted to go to that Coliseum. I wanted to hear the fans go, "Let's go, Oakland," and have the whole stadium rock like that.
Pretty cool.
And for 3 or 4 innings, when they were in the game, that was happening, and that was so reminiscent of me. When my father would take me to the Steeler games in the 70s and early 80s.
The A's are nostalgic and legendary. The whole franchise is just a respectable
kind of the
franchise.
Same thing, man. You saw the fans in Three River Stadium, and you guys are probably young. You did go to Three River Stadium, right? When you were younger, I'm sure you had to have.
I was the last game. Played the Washington Redskins.
Yeah, I was there too.
Did you see any football games there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I can't speak to what they did in the 90s there.
Whoop.
He's tearing the place up.
I'm eating a mic. I'm trying.
But that place in the 70s, even as cold as it was, be rocking so hard, people screaming that if you, the camera angles would catch the lower bleachers bouncing when they start jumping up and down. It was crazy.
Can you imagine playing on that AstroTurf? Like that
like
seems
cement.
like it would hurt. I literally won thing on eBay, a piece of that turf, and I showed you. I put my hand down on it. I'm like,
no, Matt, that's 20 years later. Imagine in the 70s what that was like.
Yeah, it was probably like playing on asphalt.
It wouldn't be comfortable. There's no doubt about that.
But that place was something special, and I can
those guys were badass.
The 70s Steelers were something to behold. Now, again, it's kind of funny to watch the replays of those games and seeing the size that they are compared to how big the guys are now.
Yeah, there's that debate going on big time. Like, would this Miami Dolphins team, and I don't want to get too into it, of course, because it's a can of worms for me. This Miami Dolphins team, the Michelob maybe is getting me too, Jordan. The Miami Dolphins of today, who are 0-6 and absolutely terrible and don't stand much of a chance and who are likely tanking.
But they're going to have 2 first-round picks.
Yeah, they're going to have 2 first-round picks. But the debate currently that is going on is, would they beat that undefeated Dolphins team, Mercury Morris and that group?
Greasy.
And I say
Zonka.
Absolutely they would beat them.
I think so,
which
too.
is a hot topic. But
just because of the simple improvement of the quality of the athlete decades later.
You got it. I think they would beat them. Yeah, they might put up a little bit of a fight. I don't think it'd be an absolute slaughter, but they would beat that Super Bowl team. It's why it's so hard to compare eras and things of that nature when you're comparing a Babe Ruth to a Barry Bonds, right, or things of that nature. You can't do it. You simply can't do it. And I absolutely, like I said, we could talk about this for maybe 5 more hours.
But isn't that the greatest thing about sports, though? Like you could pick a topic like that, and everybody gets so impassioned about their side or their opinion, and it's just that's the tapestry of sports talk, right? Yep. It has to be just the immense amount of opinions that are there.
I can't get enough of it. And that's why you should tune into our Yinzer Crazy podcast.
Yinzer Crazy.
It's going to be good. And
Yinzer
just like
Crazy.
Yes.
It's already good.
It's just crazy that we came out of the gate. Like, I just called him one day. Well, I texted him, and I'm like, dude, I'm reaching out to people. He's like, let's do it. And we did it. We got Kendall. We got my man.
But you're like Mr. Pittsburgh. I mean, you have been involved in so many organizations, events. You make it your business to get there.
I feel like I ask every single person when I go in a meeting, and Mike knows this about me. I said, I'm not looking for anything. I said, there's one word that I'm looking for. And I said, I will do the work. I said, but I'm looking for opportunity. And I just feel like with this podcast and with the writings and just, linking up with someone who I can trust and who I know is knowledgeable, like Mike. And
Who's
I
that?
just.
You got another guy?
That guy
there he is.
You two guys.
I was making
what's going
It's Eric McKenna.
What I think is going to be amazing about you two guys is the differences.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The difference is, like, there has to be some passionate sports disagreements between you two. There's got to be.
Yeah, occasionally. You could tell from Jordan's personality that he is overly optimistic all the time. I'm a little more of a pessimist half the time.
You're more pragmatic.
I am more pragmatic. I'm a little more logical, I think, at the end of the day. And I think Jordan is
passionate.
She's passionate, which is a great thing, no doubt, at the end of the day.
I agree.
I put in a bet on the Dolphins, and they didn't cover 24 points, so here we are.
He's sitting here. That explains the mustache.
Did you bet with him?
Yes.
I wish, man.
No, together. But, and this is also the mustache. This is new. So.
Well, the betting thing is, are you guys going to tackle that on your show at all now that the gambling's legal?
Fantasy is really big in bet. Yeah, that is a good.
Big time.
Eric McKenna, man, coming through again.
Big time.
My job is to ask the questions, man.
Yes.
Dude, it's not something we've gotten into yet, full scale. We talked about it.
I think it'd be a cool thing to add.
We've had some luck. I've had some luck in the past.
Not with the NBA playoffs.
Not with the NBA playoffs. Fortunate we have like 8 months till
He's
then.
licking his wounds.
PTSD is now coming out.
So the fantasy thing, did you guys do fantasy? Because I missed all that. I'm a little bit too old for all. I kind of missed it all.
I did football with his cousin, and then he just invited me to an NBA basketball league. And I love NBA. This explains the White Sox had. So the reason why
that's MLB though.
Yes, the reason. So, anyways,
I like it at this point.
That's why I like the White Sox. Obviously, I couldn't be a Cubs fan. I like Sammy Sosa, but I couldn't be a Cubs fan. So, I like rocking.
They got a cool logo.
Yes, and Pittsburgh doesn't have an NBA team, but I'm trying to hope that the Cavs rebuild because that's the closest thing to us. And my man's here working with them, and we're going to Cleveland next week.
So
you're working with the Cavs.
Part of our dynamic, I think, is the fact that we can make fun of each other a little bit, right? And not give a shit.
I love that.
At this point, really.
How did he ask us about fantasy football and you started talking about Sammy Sosa?
He's a musician.
How did we get there?
That's where they go. They're all over the place.
They're all over the place.
How did you?
Well, he said, I need to know. I said, you're probably wondering why I'm wearing a White Sox hat. I didn't know they're in the American League. Go ahead. And now our next guest, Daryl Webb and Michael Nicastro.
Oh, man.
So answer the question.
I got nothing for you. Sammy Sosa.
Sammy Sosa.
I had a game-used bat piece from him. I don't know where it's at.
So the differences between you two.
You got a good cop, bad cop.
Yeah. I like that. That's a good dynamic.
Yeah.
You got a good dynamic. You got a little, like I said, a little more logical, and then a little more off the beaten path.
But the thing is Mike is so knowledgeable, and he brings that to the podcast. Like he can tell you who the third string quarterback who the Philadelphia Eagles are.
Right.
Like that's the.
I can't tell you the first.
But nobody cares about that.
No one cares about that. But it's useless information that's important. Hey,
not even Eagles
look at where the Steelers are at.
Yeah.
You might want to know.
It's Nate Sudfeld.
Yeah. Okay. Exactly.
But
that's what I mean. Like, how do you come on, man?
But it doesn't matter.
I feel like Stephen A. said, come on, man.
It's a Yinzer podcast.
Yes.
It's a Yinzer podcast.
But I'm just saying, like, that's the type of sports knowledge this guys have. But what I have is, like, if I'm passionate about something and I know what I'm talking about, is I'm going to persuade you to believe that what I'm saying is believable because it is. And that's the whole thing. Like, I believe the Pirates can be good if they get rid of the front office. I believe that the Penguins can win another Stanley Cup if they get faster on their lines. There's so much, and we complement each other so well, and I think that that's what's great about Yinzer Crazy. And like,
he'll tell you.
We're sitting with like Aaron McKenna right now, who literally
that's my sister.
Eric McKenna. Did I say Aaron?
You said Aaron.
He did say Aaron.
Eric. We have a friend named Aaron.
You got to back up.
I'm sitting with Eric McKenna right now, who literally made guitars for world famous people. Like I'm sitting, I literally feel like I'm sitting in part of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame right now. I literally
feel like you might ruin one of his mics.
I'll buy you a new one.
I'm kidding. All right. I'm beating the dead horse now.
Yes,
I'm beating that horse.
You guys are going to go at it, like, competitively.
I hope it makes for good. I hope it makes for good stuff. I really do. I hope it makes for good stuff. Listen, I love this guy to death. More than maybe anybody in the world. No doubt about it. In terms of friends.
Even my wife.
Even when he's wrong.
But I'll be the first person to say he's got some bad takes. We'll go Skip Bayless on it. He's got some bad takes.
Hey, it happens.
So so he already said that the Pirates could be something if they got rid of the front office. I'm guessing the front office is GM. They got rid of the manager already. Pitching coach is gone.
You have to have someone that cares.
We got a little alcohol.
No, I'm kidding. I'm
so what's your take on that?
Yeah, that's why I said that we're going to need a lot of alcohol. That's why I'm. No, it
starts with ownership, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a wormhole again, Eric, for sure. Aaron, sorry.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
See, he's doing it now too.
No,
I love you, buddy.
So, I mean. You have a fundamental problem, which is the fact that our owner, Bob Nutting, doesn't want to spend a lot of money, right?
We own a newspaper in Seven Springs.
This is an individual
and people are still buying Pirates merch.
He gets a lot. He's not light in the wallet, let's put it that way, right? And unfortunately, we are at a time now where you have to put money into your baseball team to reap the benefits. I tell you what, Billy Beane and the Oakland A's have maybe proven that to be, they're the exception to the rule.
Would you say they're middle market?
But listen,
they're small market.
They're small market. They're right next to the Pirates.
Just like the Rays.
I feel bad.
It's a beautiful thing.
I feel bad for Neil Huntington for one because
he
gets a lot. He gets a lot of shit.
Bad for him?
I think he's handcuffed.
Hot take.
I truly think he's handcuffed.
Okay.
If I give you $1 and told you to get me a filet mignon down the street,
am I handcuffed right now?
I cannot.
And that's where I think he's handcuffed.
Okay.
I truly. Now, listen.
Other GMs are handcuffed.
There's no question about it. There have been GMs. Royals a couple years ago went out and won the World Series. Johnny Cueto made a.
But it's an anomaly. It's an anomaly.
The A's, like you said, have been
They can
successful.
get so far, but they can't compete against the bigger teams because the benches are stronger and the starting pitching is stronger.
The
because
Brewers
they
are a
have
relatively
the
small
money.
market. Yeah, the Pirates put together a championship roster in 2013, where they ran into Jake Arrieta and won almost 100 games and lost that division to the Cardinals because the Central was so stacked. The Pirates the next year added crap to that team. They added guys like, it was, I think John Neese was like the big addition. They had a freaking chance, right? And that's where I fall on. I mean, you could criticize Huntington all day for Archer.
You have to. We're going to talk about that.
You can criticize Huntington all day for not just Archer, but Garrett Cole. It's hard for me to say those words right now. He's made some bad trades, no doubt, but you're giving him $1 and asking him to get you a filet mignon, and I'm one of the only Huntington backers in this town.
So,
it's a tough job.
Got it. So my point would be, counterpoint would be that there are other GMs that have tightened, have financial restrictions.
Yeah.
So if you know they can't spend big money, then you have to really critically analyze their other opportunities. And that happens to be trades.
Sure.
And I will say that Huntington fell in love with a player years ago, followed that love affair, and then finally got that player. And so that satisfaction, you got that personal satisfaction, buried this team.
It absolutely did.
The two biggest prospects that, whether or not they had met their maturity yet at this organization, who knows?
Yeah.
But obviously, they had the skill set. And
they're
proving it right now, which is a damn shame that we got very little in return.
I mean, it was like...
He was damaged goods. Archer was damaged goods. I think that Huntington had blinders on and wouldn't recognize that fact.
So for me, the bigger story is the lack of player development when he had the talent in our system.
There's no question.
So that could be... him picking the wrong coaches still, right? Him hiring the wrong player development staff.
I think Archer has big lead stuff.
Listen though, Jordan. For Tyler Glass now to struggle the way he struggled here, for Charlie Morton to be a fourth or fifth starter,
Garrett
below
Cole
average
19-0 in his last.
Right, for Garrett
Come
Cole
on,
to
man.
be, you're right. Right now, he is arguably he just put together one of the best
the best
seasons
pitcher
in
in the
baseball
major leagues.
history. Right, it wasn't the talent. He picked the talent. He picked the right guys.
Right.
They didn't develop them properly. They absolutely screwed up in development.
And this whole delusion that the city's been under for the last 5 years that Searage was the best pitching coach imaginable.
Yeah, you can miss me.
I just don't see it.
You can miss me with that. He absolutely. His flaws were shown this year, and I think I'll give you another name that some Pirates fans know. It's Jim Benedict, who was the individual in the front office who went to Miami for Trevor Williams in that trade.
Yeah.
And Jim Benedict was known to be like the pitching guru,
right.
the guy. Right, the player who fixed everybody. Right when he left and that trade was consummated, we immediately started to go downhill. So I think maybe Jim Benedict was the reason why we turned guys like Liriano Volquez around instead of
very well could be
instead of Ray Searage. But I appreciate what Ray did when he was here, of course.
There was a philosophy there of pitching to contact, and of course the Ray and Clint tried to back away from that a little bit this past 6 months, but that was stated many times and even revealed by these pitchers. That they were kind of handcuffed, that your power pitchers were kind of handcuffed on the amount of fastballs that they were permitted to throw.
Yeah, call a spade a spade. It was fucking terrible. Look at Garrett Cole. He's the most dominant pitcher in the league.
How do you think they feel, though, seeing
I remember
that?
Texting my buddies a few times when Garrett Cole was here pitching for the Pirates, and I was like, this guy throws 99, but he doesn't strike anybody out? He was striking out 4 or 5 a game. It made no sense. Made absolutely no sense. They're letting him spread his wings in Houston. We had a fundamental development problem from Double A up.
You kind of just got to let him pitch. I feel like they're I feel like Searage, I'm not saying I think he was good, but I just feel like he tried to say, hey, throw this pitch or do this, instead of just saying, hey, you're a major league pitcher, come out here and throw your stuff, we know you have good stuff, like putting almost too much pressure on him, like to really that's just
I think I might be a little bit of it. I don't understand where, if the Pirates are such an analytical organization, as they quote unquote pretend's a tough word, they pretend to be,
they have the players.
But if they are an analytical organization, and you'd have to agree to that, because Hurdle had a lot of quirky things, to giving the rest the way he gave and things. Other teams use analytics and have success with it. So what happened?
I'm highly in favor of it, and you should be, right?
Well, a small market team has to.
Do you think
environment
Hurdle was really the problem, though?
Oh, yeah.
Big time.
He had to go, obviously. You have to, it's just underachieving.
I put a lot on Searage, too, because this is a pitching staff that performed really well, above expectations in 2018 and 2000. The regression in 2019 was significant, was extremely significant. And Hurdle has always been a hitter's coach, kind of more of a bats guy, while Searage was always the guy who controlled the bullpen and the arms, obviously, in the rotation. So I put a lot of that on Searage. But you're right. There were a lot of strange things that Hurdle did in this time, like, does Marte need 2 rest days right after hitting after a 16-game hitting streak or something of that nature? You're right. Bullpen mismanagement, guys he was probably overly loyal to, and I think at the end of the day, man, if you have guys fighting in the clubhouse and you go 4-24 after the All-Star break, your time has come.
His message was lost, I think.
His message was lost
at some point.
It absolutely was. I think it's time for a change, and Jordan and I interviewed potentially a guy that we'd like to maybe
Jason
see as the next manager. He had some
They have to go outside
answers,
of the. They have
really
to go outside of the organization. You have to at this point. They're
not going to.
The fan. I know, and I think that they're going to get Bannister, which he obviously was good in Texas, and we talked to the Ford about that because he played for them.
Hopefully, we have some baseball fans listening, Eric.
Yes.
Is there anything about Ryan Christensen that you can divulge
He was a low radar guy. We didn't, even us that really studied the organization. He was a bench coach, and he made his forte in the triple in the
I
minors.
sent you that, right?
I'm more of an analytics, younger, progressive manager.
Well, anyone that's going to tutelage, first off, in my humble opinion, which of course I'm parochial and biased, I think Bob Melvin is either the best manager in baseball or as good as any other manager in baseball right now.
Joe Girardi.
I don't know. Bob's not available, but I'm saying Bob's staff. If you have the ability to tutelage under Bob Melvin, you can just see where they've gone. They just had an assistant coach who was going to coach. He didn't get an MLB job. Now he got hired to coach the best team in Korea. You've had people move laterally. A lot of people have come out of the Melvin managerial organization there, and they've done well. Give them a shot. At this point, I think what you do need is a sales plan to the city of Pittsburgh that you're going to do something radical and bring a new vision, direction, some energy. I don't think Hurdle had a lot of energy.
Bannister doesn't bring it either.
Well,
you need excitement back.
Correct.
I mean, you need someone to go in there and be like, look, we're putting a surcharge to you. This is a new season, new face. It's a what is it? How did this song go? It's a new Pirates generation. Like, this is the generation. We have the players now. I mean, and like, you know, you have players like Marte had a great year.
Well, they hit pretty well. The Pirates actually offensively were a good team.
You hit the nail on the head.
Reynolds,
you said it. It's got to be radical, because if not, you're going to tread water. The roster isn't good enough right now. It's just not.
They'll wait until
it's
after.
Not good enough. It's not.
They'll
close
wait
enough.
until after the World Series.
This is at best their ceiling, Eric. An 82 win team. It's a 500 team, right? So if a manager really does, like Jason Kendall, next year, I'm sorry. If a manager really does account for 5 to 10 wins per year, like Jason Kendall told us, which I totally agree with, because the talent on your roster is going to dictate 90% of that in the National League, right? When you're not, when you're, you know, AL probably less, right? Because of the DH and things of that nature.
Less flipping late in the game.
Then you need to find a guy who's going to make a radical change and get you those 5 to 10 wins, instead of picking a Jeff Bannister who's going to come in and tread water and hope
he's
to
a
sell
company
15,000.
guy. They'll get him cheap, and that's
and you know that's who they're going to go.
Nothing against Banny.
What does Coonley do in this organization, right?
There's a little bit of this.
No, but what does he do? I mean, you never hear from him, right? Either once in a rare to hear from Nutting.
You never hear from Nutting. Does Nutting exist?
Rare. Like once a year, I think. Once a year, I think.
He's at 7 Springs. He's at 7 Springs skiing and writing newspapers or producing news.
He's my girlfriend right now. She doesn't exist.
I don't know.
It's they got to do something, because I think they're going to lose the city of Pittsburgh. I think you have a. If you don't turn it around somewhat, even if 500 baseball next year or close to 500 baseball,
they can't do what they did this year and expect people to still come out to the ballpark.
You can dig a hole
beautiful.
so deep.
It's a beautiful place, the best view in Pittsburgh, but it's depressing. And I want nothing more, just because my whole life, I was 2 years old the last time when Barry Bonds was playing for the Pirates. I want to see playoff baseball. I will pay hundreds of dollars to see playoff baseball in Pittsburgh, and I feel like everyone's like that. And it's not like, oh, well, you only love the Pirates. I love the Pirates. I want nothing more, but I'm also a realistic Pirate fan.
Sure.
It's been rough.
It's been painful. This is a painful season, because it was a complete collapse.
People were
after
exciting.
The All-Star break.
It was exciting.
So I another humble brag. I was at Wrigley, the series after the All-Star break.
Okay.
And I went to got a bunch of guys together. My first experience at Wrigley, another ballpark that some would say is a dump, but is a national treasure. And my goodness gracious, one of the coolest trips I've had in my life.
Wrigley's awesome.
We saw a Chris Archer-led Pirates team go into Wrigley on I think it was that Saturday.
He didn't even let up any
second game of the series.
Any runs.
This was like right before this 4-24 stretch. They came out, they battled. Archer gave up 2 or 3 hits. He had one of his best games ever as a Pirate. Marte tied it late with a home run. They went on to lose on a Chris Bryant home run. But you saw what Chicago was on a Friday afternoon, on a Saturday afternoon. There's no reason Pittsburgh can't get to that in their baseball stadium. There's no reason why they
is it bad marketing? Because they've had some decent teams over the past decade. They have. A couple of years they played decently. Is it bad marketing?
No, I just
think... Why do people not believe... In this town, don't believe in the Pirates enough?
They've been let down so much.
There you go.
Are you a believer?
I never was.
So... That just
even in the years that there was the Queta, it was almost like when they lost to the Cardinals and then the Giants in those 2 consecutive years. I kind of just said to myself, kind of like I almost say every year with Oakland, if they get there, it was a good season. I saw winning baseball. If they win 1 playoff game or 2, that's great.
Yeah,
because I don't expect them to go to the World Series, because they don't have the money to put the right talent on to win late in the season.
You got it. You guys both hit the nail on the head. They've let us down too much, I think. Listen, Yinzer Crazy, but Yinzer also smart, right? At the end of the day, we see an owner who is not spending money, who's pocketing money. And unfortunately, man, we have a lot of fans who have had their heart broken by 19 straight losing seasons, right? Before you're good, 19. I mean,
we weren't here for the 70s, the Willie Stargells, and
it's like the ex-girlfriend that comes back, right? And she's like, "Yeah, I'm here for you." and then boom, she cheats on you again, and rips your freaking heart out.
Thanks
man.
again, Cheryl.
It never why believe, Eric? Why? So I get it. I totally do. I'm a huge Pirates fan. I'm with Jordan. I
think I'm a bigger Pirates fan than anything else, but it just hurts.
But it hurts.
Oh, you've been tortured.
I'm sick of it. It's waterboarding.
But I'm not gonna act. I'm not a fair weather guy. I'm in it through. I mean,
see, not me. I won't buy a ticket when they're bad.
Yeah.
Well,
we have a lot of perks.
I'm kind of sour. Nice. I'm kind of so. All right, so let's turn the philosophical conversation to the Steelers. I want to get you gentlemen's take on this. Now, let me set the question up for you. Is this town prepared for one of two circumstances? The one circumstance is going to be that a 1 in a million shot is going to be, and that Rudolph is the guy in a Ben-like circumstance in 2004 who takes the team and runs with it, and Ben is never playing again. That's a scenario. Ben, that's an unlikely scenario, but it could happen.
Ben
Hear me out. No. Hold on, let me finish the question.
Yeah.
The other half of the question is, if that doesn't happen, and Ben comes back, and because of the repaired elbow, it's an elbow.
You got it. Yep.
And age and everything else, that they just don't have it, and then Ben basically quits either midway through next season or at the end of next season. He's just done, and this team goes into a swill, so to speak, for a couple of years. How's this city going to react to that? Because that could happen. You like to think the Steelers have a way, right? The organization, the way is the way. The standard is the standard. But you know as well as I do, the difference between, really in the NFL, the difference between a 7-9 team and a 9-7 team is pretty much nothing. Luck, pretty much, right? But the difference between a 7-9 team and maybe like a 11-5 team probably isn't that much either. So, is the city of Pittsburgh prepared for a couple years of losing football?
You want me to go? Yeah, I mean, I think that you have to accept, as any sports fan, that there's rebuilding years. I think
this town, Steelers.
I mean, what's rebuilding? Being 9-7, 8-8. I mean, if Cleveland went 8-8 and 9-7 and like maybe got the wild card, like there would be a parade. I mean, they were already jumping in the river when they won 6 games or 7 games. So I think that the quarterback controversy now, I think it brings excitement that we haven't had in a while, because Ben Roethlisberger is a Hall of Fame quarterback, and I think that the people that left, Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown, I hope they find their way. God bless them. But I think that people don't realize when you have a Hall of Fame quarterback, and I think he will come back and be at the top of his game, at least for a couple more years.
You think people will accept rebuilding? Steeler fans.
Yeah,
the same ones we run into.
I mean, there's still. I mean, we just had. We're a 1-4 team, and we just had like 25,000 people.
Well, 8-8 is not rebuilding to me. 9-7 is not rebuilding.
6-10.
6-10
is rebuilding.
5-11.
Yeah,
4-12.
But yeah, I mean, I think that they will accept it. I don't think they'll be happy. But I mean, you kind of have to accept it. I mean, it's reality. It's like people get old, people retire, things change, a new regime comes
Pittsburgh
in.
We've had some bad spread out. I mean, the 80s were not kind to the Steelers.
Sure. Yeah,
we missed that.
Yeah, I wasn't here.
Bubby Brister was not.
I heard, and they were saying that about the Duck. They're like, why did they give him Bubby Brister's number? He's cursed. I'm like,
Cordell Stewart was a bad era for the Steelers.
See, we were here for the Cordell era.
Yeah,
that was a bad era.
That was an era where they weren't a Super Bowl contender, but they were still winning 9-10 games.
Well, they had because outside of quarterback, they had some talent on that team.
Yeah. I don't know that we're ready, and I think part of it is because we're crazy, like we keep alluding to, which is the
hence Yinzer Crazy.
You got it. You nailed it there. And listen, my viewpoint and perspective is similar to Jordan's, is that we talked about it earlier. We've certainly been completely blessed as a sports town, right? We take that for granted. You might have a year or two where you rebuild. I would rather rebuild than be 7-9 or 9-7, like you said, and be in purgatory for those 5 years.
As long as we're in playoff contention, people think that we're going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but it's bad, right?
Yeah.
I would rather rebuild and have early picks, Eric, and be able to sign free agents with dead money coming off the books who might impact this team
for
and
years.
Turn this thing back into a Super Bowl contending roster and winner, opposed to saying we're going to fight to go 7-9 each year and be right in it. That's not the way to run a franchise. No. You take a year loss, right? You take maybe a 2-year 4-12. You take 2 top 5 picks. Grab the best quarterback, the best linebacker from that draft, and before you know it, you're rebuilding, right? You have to use a different sports analogy, your Houston Astros, who were like 50 and 120 or whatever they were a few years ago, completely tanked it. Like the Orioles of this past year, they're doing it right too. Completely tanked it. Decided, listen, we don't care about selling tickets this year. We're going to bounce back and be better than ever. That's the strategy that they need to take. And I think we might be rapidly approaching it because I'm not a big believer in Mason Rudolph personally. I'm not. You might be a little more than me.
Nah, I mean, I'm realistic. I think that when you lose a Hall of Fame quarterback, it's not going to be one season you're going to be like, this is my franchise quarterback. I think
but the NFL is different.
Yes.
It is different.
It's tough to tell your fans
you can get Ryan Fitzpatrick and he'll play good for you
16
for
games.
straight weeks.
I mean, baseball's
games.
a long season.
Yeah. When
you think about 162 games.
That's a lot.
88 and 80.
They're still
at home.
playing.
Yeah.
Now.
Man. And 84 of them at home. Is that right? Is that right? 80?
Yeah.
80,
you got it. Yeah,
81 and a half?
You got it. 81.
Yeah, so 81 home games. And it's almost like, that's a lot of that's a marathon.
Dude. It's a big difference. You're right. 16 games and you allow a week for reflection, right? You got people in this town after a loss talking until Friday at the water cooler. I hate my damn life. I can't wait till next Sunday. Pirates get to make up for it the next day.
Right.
Penguins get to make up for it in 2 days, right? That's the difference between the Steelers and the Penguins. You're going to have fans pissed for 90% of the time and only have 3 hours where they're playing football.
I remember just being in a sales job and being a corporate America and didn't I hated when the Steelers lost on Sunday because you would come back to work on Monday and everybody's in a bad mood.
Dreary, man. It's the dreary atmosphere. Yeah.
All right, before we wrap this up, Penguins. What's your thoughts on the current state of the Penguins?
Yeah,
fringe playoff team.
Yes, I would say
I told you, I'm the realist. He's the eternal optimist.
I like that.
It's a fringe playoff team.
But that's what's crazy about sports is it's like. Like March Madness, a number 15 can knock off a number 2 seed. Like that's what makes sports exciting. That's what it's two teams coming out to clash, and you don't know who's going to win. Oh, this team's ranked, this team's undefeated, but it's any given Sunday, as they say.
Wouldn't you agree, though? The sports that have less games, the more impactful those games
are.
Yeah.
100%. Oh, yeah. That's why NFL
100%.
has so much storyline.
But the NHL, too, man. These games are big games. Tonight, we left the bar. We had one before we came here.
Yeah.
Great bar.
Avalanche.
Great bar over here in Coriopolis. What was
Cobblestone.
You have the Cobblestone.
Yes.
I want to shout out them.
I felt like I was in my basement
Some
or
good
something.
people over there at Cobblestone. A really, really cool place.
They said they know Eric McKenna, so they comped everything. I was like, this is awesome.
And Aaron. Yeah, everything free.
Yeah.
Eric and Aaron.
Yes.
Eric and Aaron. But we were watching the Pens. They were down 1-0 to the Avalanche. They've been fortunate. They've won, I think, 4 straight now. So they've been playing some good hockey. But the roster right now, as it's,
they got faster. They definitely
got a little faster, but it's not as good as some of the teams, top tier teams.
They're in a
the
tough
East.
division.
The Tampas, the Torontos right now.
Islanders are even playing
good. So you
good.
think they're going to make moves mid-season, would you say?
I would expect it because Jim Rutherford has always done it.
No question.
So
he's known for that.
Why expect anything different, right? That the man went out and got guys, in the past who have contributed to Stanley Cup championships. So I think he's going to make moves. I think they're going to miss Kessel a little more than they originally thought.
I think you're right.
I understand that there was maybe a little player disconnect with him and Mike Sullivan. But
those personalities are so different.
They're very different. You got a laid back guy and you got somebody a little more fiery, kind of like Jordan and I in a sense, but not.
I'm just eating the mic.
I wouldn't use those adjectives necessarily to describe our personality, but I think they're going to miss him. They got Galchenyuk back, who's a really solid forward, but the guy's already hurt. You're already playing down there. Gino's out long term. They're doing a great job keeping their head above water right now. A lot of AHL guys are contributing to this roster, but it's going to fade, right? The realist in me says it's not going to continue without Gino, without Kessel. Right. Matt Murray's better be damn good right now for them to have a chance.
Good point.
And that's the cool thing about hockey, though, right? If you get to the playoffs and Matt Murray's the best goalie in hockey, you got a chance to win the Stanley Cup.
It's a very streaky sport too.
You're good as your goalie. It's just kind of like your starting pitcher.
Whatever Matt Murray you get,
you're as good as your goalie that night.
Because there's two.
The Penguins could have 80 shots on goal one night, right? If Matt Murray's bad that night, doesn't matter. They're going to lose that game. So
good point.
You're as good as your goalie. So who knows? Get in the playoffs and see what happens. To your point, you're right.
That's the Pittsburgh thing.
Right.
Get in the playoffs, we'll
and
win whatever.
Unlike, I think, the NFL, where home field plays much bigger, and probably baseball a little bit too. Your starting pitcher takes away some of that, but the juices that you build up from being in that baseball stadium are different. Hockey,
late innings especially.
Hockey, it doesn't matter. You see the road team winning oftentimes because there's actually less pressure.
Yeah, why is that? I wonder.
I think
I feel like the Steelers play better on the road.
Are hockey players more in their own vacuum during the play?
Yeah, I think you get a little tighter.
I think
do.
so.
And I think there's more pressure on the goalie when you're at home, believe it or not. Which sounds crazy to me. You can't really taunt a goalie the same way you can do a pitcher, the same way you can do a quarterback, the same way you can do a point guard, tennis player who's out there by himself. Goalie's mask, full pads, going 1,000 miles an hour. He's not listening to the crowd, doesn't care. So I think that's a big factor, no question about it. But I don't know. The crowds in hockey aren't. It's tough.
As impactful.
They're not as impactful. It's tough to cheer for that long of time when the play is just continuously going on.
Yeah, that's a good point. I get it. And then that whole stop and start of baseball with a crescendo builds.
There's a crescendo.
Hockey's the toughest
You're right.
sport.
The orchestra. There's a little build up. Hockey, it's just end to end, baby, fast. It's a great sport, and kind of like basketball, the crowd impacts it far less.
All right, so guys, tell me before we
got way more analytical than we wanted.
This is awesome. This is great.
I gotta go to the bathroom, but I'm doing it. I'm not gonna lie.
Don't go right there.
So
no, I'm good.
What is your hope for this show?
All right, dude. This is what's gonna make this show fun, right? You got a guy like Jordan who can say literally anything at any moment.
Completely spontaneous.
Completely spontaneous and off the wall, and I'm a little more calculated. I think we mix pretty well.
Yeah.
We've done it. We've been best friends, as he's mentioned, from literally the age of 2. You have two guys who are going to be going at it a little bit on the, in terms of debate, and two guys who are just going to shoot the shit.
Yeah.
Right, ultimately, at the end of the day. That's what it is. It's lighthearted.
Yeah.
It's something that we don't just want to cover Pittsburgh sports. We want to cover some current events too in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
We're going to talk a little bit about, like, hey man, what's going on this weekend? You got a regatta.
That's good.
You got a jam on walnut, whatever it may be, right? Something fun, something informative that people can listen to and say, like, yeah, you know what? I didn't know the PPG Ice had a free skate this Friday or something like that. We're going to continue to add elements.
You guys can do some live events, like set up and actually record a podcast maybe on site.
You got it. We're absolutely going to do that. We actually in talks with a couple of the local mom and pop retail stores, if you will, who are in the Pittsburgh area that want to have us in just to bring some people in and have some lighthearted fun. So listen, man, I'm really blessed to have this opportunity to do this with him because his outreach obviously is incredible.
I don't know anyone in Pittsburgh that doesn't know him.
You bring a little mix of everything into the show. Some sports.
We're back with
some fun, McKenna. Some laughs, some goofiness, some straight off the wall bullshit.
Did you set your bumper music up yet? I mean, do you have a theme and all that yet?
A little bit of one. So
we've really just been using my music.
That's what I was just going to say.
I might have to make a Yinzer Crazy.
It's
thing.
easy.
Maybe Mike can even sing the hook or something. I don't know.
I'm going to pull it up right now on Spotify and show you how we ended our first show.
All right, on.
Because it makes perfect sense. And then Jordan, you can elaborate a little bit. This is how we started it.
Okay. Yeah, it's my song, Stay True.
Okay, now hold on. Let's find a way. Okay. Let me see if I can fast forward this really quickly. And more importantly, this is how we ended it.
And then obviously we'll have more. It could be anything.
Yeah, the Pittsburgh song. So yeah, there's some of my music, and it's just all Pittsburgh oriented. Again, I'll just go back to what?
Talk over it. Sounds good.
Okay. What's awesome about this whole thing is it's easy. And it's easy because Mike's my best friend. I love sports, and I love just lighthearted fun.
You love Pittsburgh.
Yes. And,
How can you tell?
Of all the people that I know, no one loves Pittsburgh more than this guy.
Yes. I love Pittsburgh. I love music. I love performing. I love just meeting genuinely people who have the same interests as me and can hold in a conversation like this. We really appreciate you having us on here.
Absolutely.
And
it's just one of many, buddy. Trust me.
Yes, and we just want to continue to do positive things. I mean, life's short, man. There's so much negativity in the world, and I feel like sports and just good deeds, those are the things that need to be posted on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Not this person, like. show me. There's so much positive going in the world, but negative stuff sells. That's what, if you watch the news, and I just feel like our podcast, Yinzer Crazy, everything that Jordan York stands for, everything that Michael Nicastro stands for, as well as Eric McKenna and the whole podcast, I just feel that it's all positivity. Like, I have nothing we all battle stuff day to day, but I feel like if we can genuinely just realize that life is really not hard, we're just making it that hard, and to find the things that we're passionate about and continue to show that to the masses.
Just
and that's what we want to do with the Yinzer Crazy, and we hope that everyone checks it out. We're on Spotify, Apple, just Facebook, Jordan York, Mike Nicastro, and make sure you check out this wonderful podcast, Eric McKenna, and we appreciate you having us. And
thank you, boss.
We just want to continue to spread positivity. I mean, that's what it is. Sports.
Yinzer Crazy.
Yeah.
I'm just glad we're a podcast and not a TV show, so people don't have to see that mustache.
Yeah.
I was going to ask about that mustache.
It's just, I don't know, man. It's just like an alter ego thing. I mean,
it's like a 70s porn stash.
Yeah. Dude, that's what my mom
gotta
said.
keep it though, but it's bad.
That's what my mom said.
If there's one thing us three can agree on, we've had some hotly debated topics, is that his mustache is bad.
Okay.
But we gotta keep it. But he's got to keep it.
Because I can't grow it right here. I have to get like a Sharpie.
If I could give you guys any just like, first mover advantage advice, I would just give you this. You guys are so animated and funny. You got to think about the video component of this show.
Sure.
Yeah.
We should.
It should really.
And then I got to go mustache too.
Yeah,
you got.
I mean, that's what I mean. Like, I'm like the person, like, hey, like, here, give me a +1. My mustache is coming too. Like, I can't grow facial hair, so for me to like grow this, it's just like
he draw that in.
Yeah, he had to get that in there.
The soccer team wasn't bad this year.
Riverhounds are kicking ass.
Yes,
they've been really good.
Yes,
and Pitt volleyball.
Everything.
Shout out Pitt.
Yes, they're like number 3 in the country. Pitt volleyball.
It's amazing.
So shout out to those ladies.
I think that what we like to say at the end of our show is that everybody's crazy in their own way, so be a little crazy. So that's our message, right, to the people is that Yins literally are crazy, and don't hide that because it's damn cool.
You guys got to come back on though.
Yes.
I'd love to have you guys on a regular basis. We have a lot of fun. This was awesome.
Thank you so much, brother.
Very well. All right, that's Yinzer Crazy. Catch them. I'm guessing it's Apple, it's Google, it's Spotify, radio.com, everywhere. Just type in Yinzer Crazy. Catch these cats out. We're getting a couple shows a month, 3 shows a month, 4 shows a month. What are you looking at?
Yeah, we're trying to do one every week.
Awesome.
So we did 2. We did one 2 weeks ago with Jason Kendall. Check that one out.
Yep.
It's now on all of our platforms. One this past week with Michael McHenry.
Awesome.
We're sticking with the Pirates Catchers theme.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We're taking this week off and doing an hour from Cleveland.
Awesome.
Yes.
Next week on location. Will be uploaded next Friday.
God
so
bless
check
you.
us out.
Y'all be careful up there.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a very good point. We're gonna be decked out in
My
Pittsburgh.
Steelers
Nice.
shirt at home. Okay.
All right, Yinzer Crazy.
I'm cool
Check
with
them
it.
out. Check them out. Check these 2 cats out. Yinzer Crazy.
Thank you, Eric. We appreciate it.
See y'all soon. We're out.